Street cred sports. Street cred sports. I'm crossing over. I'm Euro stepping.
Hello, this is Keenan of Street Cred Sports Training, and welcome to another episode of Time to Ball. This is episode 91, and look who back.
Hey. Appreciate y'all.
My man Lee.
Appreciate y'all.
Hey, we had some views from that first day, so we're going to start doing some stuff. Maybe we could go sub-viral. I don't care if we go viral. I just want to go sub-viral. I don't even know what the hell sub-viral is, but I want to go sub-viral. So how you been, man?
I got some checks for y'all. Man, I've been good, man. Just really, just trying to. AAU season is here, and so just really trying to help kids be as efficient as possible.
Right.
In all phases.
You hitting the road tomorrow, huh?
I am. We're headed to San Antonio tomorrow. She's balling. Always been a good event. The extravaganza. A lot of high Division I players, Nike teams, Under Armour teams, Puma teams.
Nice.
High level teams that are independent. So you see a lot of athletes, a lot of big guards, a lot of kids that can do multiple things. And so it's always a challenge for us. But I mean, for us, we like that challenge because obviously the viewing period is in the same month. So you really want to kind of prepare yourself for that. I'd rather get, kind of our head kicked in early and kind of know where we're at and really get kids on understanding, know where they're at.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the invite.
Hey, look, man.
I'm like, what's up, man? How you been? I'm getting ready to go. Where you going? I'm going to San Antonio. Oh, okay, all right, yeah, okay, all right.
Hey, you are not about to watch us in early April and March. That's not going to happen.
I want to go on the river walk and see if it's like what Chuck say. You know how Chuck be saying, them big old women eating them churros, man. That boy
he's
be killing me.
He's so wrong for that.
Yeah, it's so bad because it's like anytime I think of San Antonio and the Riverwalk, that's the first thing goes in my mind. Especially when he was doing like eating them, like, yo, dog, I don't even like doing trying to because it's like, nah, Chuck, you can't be doing that. So without further ado, we're gonna get into some things that interest us. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about, NBA Brawls, are they good or bad? So my question is to you. Do you think they're good or bad?
I was happened to be flipping through my phone and a very famous pod, their thought process is they were happy with it. It was some action. And I don't know if it was just the mood that they were in. And so for me, I kind of get what they're saying. They really want the league to be more physical per se.
Right.
That's really kind of what, and reading between the lines.
Right.
I don't think anybody wants people to fight, but when there is a fight, people are uber excited because the league is relatively a non-contact sport. In so many, depending on who you are, what position you play, so on and so forth.
Right. So it's like you got to have it's a fine line because you can't have basketball the way you have with hockey and baseball.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
You can't have that,
sure.
right?
Oh, yeah, no.
But, there's a level, look, if you playing at a high level, especially when you're competing for something, there's going to be some chippiness. There's going to be, an excessive screen. Maybe a little bit of a push when you're going up for that shot to make you go to the line, playoff rules, right? I get all of that. I don't think I want to see like the malice in the palace, and that kind of stuff.
That's not good for anybody.
Now, even though it was kind of hilarious because the dude came out of the stands like, what? And he looked at him and he was like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And he dropped. And I was like, and the rest of them was like,
Jermaine O'Neal.
Yeah, like, hey, hey, man, don't bring your ass on this court if you don't be talking like that. But you don't really want all of that. I get all of that.
For sure.
And I'm learning the terminologies. They call it segue. So I'm going to segue this with the Brawls when you say physicality to what they talk about now. And from what I mean is you hear a lot of people talking saying dudes in this era couldn't play back in the 80s and 90s when they were real physical. And I'm like, man, miss me with that shit, because here's the truth. Athletes adjust. You're gonna adjust to physical play. You're gonna learn how to play physical. I give you an example. Okay, when you're coaching, you adjust based on the way the referees call. If the referees allow you to play, you're going to play physical. If they got a quick whistle, you adjust with your team, right?
Depends on what mood I'm. No, I'm just playing. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to adapt.
Yeah, you gotta adapt. So to say, like, I was one analyst who said that he was told that a NBA legend or Hall of Famer told him that Steph Curry wouldn't get those shots like he gets now because they put him on the ground. Like, dog, Mark Price and Steve Kerr and those dudes back in the 80s and 90s were getting those shots.
For sure.
Now, are you gonna send a message with a hard foul on the screen? Absolutely. Yeah. But anybody competitive, that's gonna just make you want to shoot more and say, okay, all right, I'm gonna keep shooting, right? I'm gonna get to the basket. So, I mean, unfortunately, well, I ain't gonna say unfortunately. I was around watching basketball back in the 80s and 90s. And though it was physical, and though there were times where guys were getting put on their butt, they weren't doing that every play.
Right. And I agree with that. Like, Steph Curry would have success, but what they're saying is he wouldn't have the unbelievable success that he's having right now. And here's my thoughts behind that. In my opinion, because I watched a lot of 80s basketball. Like, there were roster spots for skillless guys,
right?
For goons,
right?
If you will, to really take people out,
right? But a lot of that was often if you tried to take out my best player, my goon is coming in the game,
sure.
And he's going to take up your best player. That's kind of the tit for tat thing.
It was that
but
too.
Think about it. Magic scored. I mean, these guys were scoring. Jordan was scoring 40 and 50 points. Bird was scoring, 30, 40 points. Wilt was scoring 40, 50 points. So the notion that they wouldn't have, if somebody was to say, well, we would have put him on his ass a lot. Okay, I get that. But you're going to adjust your game. Joe Dumars was getting put on his ass, and he was still shooting. Vinny the Microwave Johnson was getting put on his ass. He was still finishing. Steve Kerr, John Paxson, Mark Price, John Stockton. All of those guys were small guards that could shoot. Chris Jackson.
Yeah.
He was Steph before Steph, and he was getting put on his butt. He was still going off.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, like, they're not gonna be able to still shoot, dog. You go to the park, you ball, you play against somebody. Well, but I can't use the park because a lot of times that derailed into other stuff. People shooting at each other. So.
For sure. I mean, just to kind of expound on that is that, like, when you're allowed to physically hold somebody,
right.
And I think that's kind of what they're saying. There wouldn't be a whole lot, because there's times Steph Curry's wide open.
Yeah.
In the lane, and I think they're speaking about those shots.
Yeah.
Now, in my opinion, anyone in the league right now would be able to play for the most part in the league, in any era. How much success you would have would be, what team you were on or what have you. But like, a pro is a pro, in my opinion.
They're gonna be able to play.
Yeah, a pro is a pro.
I just hate when I hear people saying that, oh, well, you couldn't play in this era and we couldn't play in that era. And then, like, real talk. So if you're gonna put guys back, if you're gonna put guys of the day back in the 70s and 60s or 80s, they don't get all of the stuff that they have today. They gotta play like everybody else played. Sure. If you put those guys from the 60s, 70s, and 80s in today's, you got to give them all of the stuff that they have today. Yeah. Like even Rick, I think it was Rick Barry was like, man, could you imagine if I had that kind of money and access to training and taking care of my body and stuff, he's like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah, but those guys, I mean, they you know, when you're drinking beer and smoking cigars after the game,
Right.
like, there wasn't a bunch of health consciousness
Right.
as far as that is concerned, you know. And I think another thing that maybe annoys the former players is that, you know, and I call it the LeBron factor. You know, I want to be liked so much that I'm cool with everybody. We all hang out, work out, separate teams. Like, there was just none of that, you know.
But there was summer runs.
Yeah.
They were running in the summer. That stuff was legendary.
Right, but really going out of your way to be somebody's friend is something that even we didn't tolerate when we played, you know?
But after the game, we'd be like, what's up? You know, hey, how's everything going? You know, but I mean, it wouldn't be like no jersey swaps and stuff. But after the game, you like, hey, what's going on and stuff. Unless you know, there was a hard foul in the game and it's like, you know, hey, you stay away from me, dog. We about to scrap.
And I agree with that, but could you, I'm gonna just put this out there. Could you see Bird, Jordan, Magic, and Olajuwon on a banana boat?
Nah.
Yeah, see,
it's
different.
But that culture, if they grew up together and they were boys, then, you know, if they grew up together, or not grew up together, but if they played in the AAU circuit and they played on the same teams, they're around each other, right? So I get it. I understand it. But then when I look at games back then, it's like, yeah, but they hated each other, obviously, during the game. But after the game, you would see guys, you know, not everybody.
There was respect.
People would slide fight, you know, good game and stuff, and they go. So I don't know, man. That's just kind of how I look at it. But this isn't kind of a segue, but I'm just gonna kind of keep it in the NBA thing. All right.
Sure.
So my question is sports about competition? Now here's why I asked that. I always thought that if I have 5, I'm trying to dominate the court, right? Or if you're playing hypothetically in high school or college, you know, you got to go through the gambit. So you don't get to really try to put yourself in a good position to play certain teams that you might have a better matchup to. Right. For me, competition means I want to beat everybody at their best. Because when it's over, I don't want no damn questions about, you know, if there's an asterisk around our team because, oh, this person was hurt or that person. Now, obviously, if somebody's hurt, you got to go through it. But I don't want to be trying to lose games to get a separate seed, a certain seed, so I can play a certain team. So, are you liking the fact that teams kind of apparently do that?
You know, I just not with all teams, but like I just feel like sometimes teams are just trying to get to the playoffs.
Right.
And a lot of times maybe someone's injured and we're not fully clicking yet and we're going to need that first round to kind of, I mean, I can see that happening. I've seen that happen.
Right.
Where teams get the right team and they get the first round and they start to gel and start to go, and then it doesn't matter who you're playing. So right. I think it's more about that than you know, someone, I guess, being scared of somebody or what have you. I think it's really how your team is playing.
Yeah, I'm okay. In an isolated situation, if you're trying to get to the playoffs, you're gonna get to the playoffs and you're gonna end up where you are. But I know there was a few years ago there was a situation in football, and I believe a few years ago in basketball, I think they said Milwaukee was intentionally trying to lose games so they could get a first round matchup. I don't even know who it was.
I can't remember the team, but I know what you're talking about.
But so it's like, okay, you're going to intentionally lose games to get a first round favorable matchup. So to me, don't I need to put an asterisk by your team's name if y'all win because you were scared to go against whoever you knew you would have been playing against? That's just me, man. That's just me. Maybe it's just,
that's
you
the
know,
old school in you,
I guess
man.
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just, but I mean, you're not trying to dodge people when you play. When you have your team and you're going out to compete with Fusion, you're not trying to say, oh, well, we're in this bracket, but put us over here against this team. You trying to, because you got to see, you need to see what you have.
Correct.
So you trying to go against everybody. And that's how, to me, that's how you get better.
Yeah, I just think there's so many variables as it pertains to NBA. I do, man. Like,
I ain't trying to hear that.
Man, it's true.
Hey,
like,
this is our first argument.
Look, like, and I'm gonna tell you another problem. We'll probably touch on that in a week or so. The analytics of this thing has really almost taken a different approach. You have no disrespect, the Geek Squad,
all right,
telling you how to play basketball and when to play, and you know, and I know data is important. I am not disrespecting that particular element of the game. I just think that it has to have balance.
Yeah.
And especially in this country, there's rarely any balance as pertains to anything at all.
Right.
And so, you know, the analytics is great. I know it's helped baseball. I know it's helped basketball. I know it's helped save people from injuries and so on and so forth. But you have to have balance.
Yeah.
And so that's where that comes from. You know, these guys in the analytic room telling the GMs and the presidents and so on and so forth that, hey, look, man, we need to make sure this guy doesn't play. He averages so many points. If he plays on this team, like the guy he's guarding, he's averaging 25, like we're going to win that game. If we, and they have all these scenarios and things of that nature. So I think that's really the I don't want to say a problem, but that's kind of how they're approaching things.
I think we should have a list of words that we can't use here. Maybe analytics should be on that list, because I do understand it and I like it. But what I always say is, okay, it's gonna sound weird, but I say this: analytics to me is just about what you did. It's not really about what you're about to do. Now, you do it enough, that's probably what you will do. But I'll give you a perfect example.
Okay.
Analytics said LeBron James goes right, he's going to go to the basket. Okay. He goes left, he's going to pull up and shoot a jump shot. When they played the Mavericks, one of his game-winning moves against the Mavericks was he caught it, he drove left, and you could see the defenders getting ready to play his jump shot. He went to the basket, scored the layup. They ended up winning that game.
Right.
And they were talking about it, and I think it was Dirk Nowitzki was like, we was expecting him to shoot. So analytically in scout team, like, this is what they were going to do. This is what he's going to do if he goes this way. Well, you can't predict it if he's good enough to see what he has.
Well, if the scout team out-scouts the scout team, then that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, you just say, look, his tendency is to go here.
Correct.
But you don't play that.
For
you
sure.
have to be ready to play. If anything, you don't give a layup. You make him take a tough shot.
For sure.
Right? So, but yeah, that's neither here or there. So, anything you got else?
I mean, I being that, it's kind of the first thing we talked about this AAU season, as you say, segue. I like to segue, like I know you've trained some pros, you've trained some high-level athletes. Like, what is your philosophy to your clients as far as them getting ready for AAU? Is it regardless? Does it depend on the grade? Does it depend on if they're middle school, high school? Like, what is your take on that?
I try to have, okay, so I have to do it a little bit differently. If it's middle school, I'm preparing them for it. So I'm saying you're about to go play against a level of talent that you've never seen before if you're doing it correct.
I got you.
So you're going to take your lumps. You're going to go out and play, enjoy it, but take your lumps because you're going to be guarded and you're going to have to defend kids that are so much more athletic and faster than what you are. So we'll use this first season to play and get used to it. Okay. Because On the high school level, what I've always told kids is if you can go your freshman year, okay, most kids that I get are just starting to understand that level. They're not like really high level where you can just put them in and they gonna excel. Most kids are like, they're just starting to feel themselves a little. So I always try to say, if you can, go your sophomore year. Okay. That way, the shock of it, you get out of your system.
Gotcha.
So now your junior year, going into your senior year, now you're ready.
Okay.
Because if you go your junior year, your summer going from junior to senior, and that's the first time you've ever done it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, it's too late, number one, but it's going to be so. If the kid is ready, I'm telling them to get in the mindset of, look, you got to go out there and make a name for yourself. Right. You got to go out there and try to put somebody on their ass guarding you. Mm-hmm. You know, you trying to give it to somebody. Not selfishly, but in certain moments you need to have that opportunity.
Right. So I mean, I think that's great. But like, have you ever been in a situation where you've had to tell a client not to go on the AAU circuit or the travel circuit? No, absolutely. So
how
was that conversation with parents?
Okay, so here is my guide to parents when they're talking to me about it as an 8th grader going into 9th grade. Okay. Here's what I tell them. Okay, so if they say, well, we're trying to understand if we should play city ball or travel ball, meaning, to me, travel ball is you're going to be on a city league team, but you're going to travel to a few spots and play in a local tournament that way. So you're traveling, but you're still kind of in a city mode. Exposure travel is what you guys do. Gotcha. Right? So if a kid is seeking to be...
Can you repeat that again? Because this is important. Oh. Like he's said this oodles of times, like a ton of times. And one time I tried to mimic what he said, and I totally forgot what he said. I mean, he really broke this down. So please, you don't even have to rewind it, because he's gonna say this again. Parents, know the difference. Please, athletes, know the difference.
Okay, so a city league team would be a team that you get on. All they do is they play in the local leagues, you know. Mm-hmm. And they don't do anything else other than play local. Mm-hmm. Okay, so then the next step would be a travel team. Mm-hmm. So a travel team a travel team is a team that they play local, mm-hmm. but then they also play out of town. Mm-hmm. But when they play out of town in tournaments, they're really playing in tournaments that are considered local tournaments for that city. So for instance, if they go play in a tournament in Albuquerque, it's a local tournament in Albuquerque, but other teams travel there, so there's not any exposure. You might play some really good teams, but it's kind of the fun travel thing, right? Mm-hmm. An exposure travel team is a team that only plays in events where you're going to be scouted and seen. There should be no question as to when you're playing in that event that there are going to be high-level evaluators, high-level talent, and college coaches, right? So you have to know that. Now, you have to make sure, because a lot of times there are kids that are playing on teams that are told that they're an exposure travel team when they're actually just a regular travel team, and they don't find it out until afterwards. Right. So I try to educate them that if they tell you you're playing in this tournament, Google that tournament. Right. You know, if you want to know if it's during a live period, here's the NCAA live period for men's and women. You can, this is in February. So yeah, no, they don't have no live period in February. The season's still going, right? So those kind of things. But to get back to the actual question, here's what I tell a kid going to their freshman year. Mm-hmm. If you are wanting to be on an exposure travel team, my guide to them is you need to be one of the top 3 to 5 players on the floor, both teams at all times. Every game you play, you need to be one of those top. I usually try to say top 3, but I kind of say, okay, top 5 of both teams. You need to have a certain standard that you have for yourself where you're scoring a certain amount of points every game, right? You're getting rebounds. You're affecting the game in ways that other players can't. If those things are happening throughout the season, whether you're a freshman, I mean, you don't have to, if you're a freshman, you move up JV and it's the same thing. Yeah, but if you're a freshman, that's where you play. That's how you should be dominant. Now, you should be in competitive mind to where when you go and play on an exposure travel team, you're going to accept the competition that you're going to face when you play outside in the level of competition out there. The problem happens to be here in El Paso, and look, I'm here in the trenches with El Paso, so this isn't a me talking bad about El Paso, but the reality is the competition level here is nowhere near where it needs to be. So if you are top 5 or let's say top 3 best players on the floor at all time on both teams throughout the whole season, if you bottle that up and you play against teams in, let's say, Dallas, you're not in that same group now. You've been shifted back, right? So it's hard, but I tell parents you gotta start somewhere. So that's usually my guide to parents. And it's worked because some parents, I'll let them use that, and they'll use that, and then by the end of the season, they're like, yeah, nah, he's not ready. He's not ready for travel ball. And I see exactly what you were telling me. We were watching. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Had a kid come in today that we got during the summer before his freshman year. And during the training, he's like, oh yeah, coach, I'm gonna be going to this school. I ain't gonna say the school. I'm going to this school, I'm a freshman. I'm gonna be playing varsity. I'm going in open gym, I'm playing in City League. And I say, look, that's not where it's at, because that's just, summer league and City League teams. They're not playing at the level. And I said, to be honest, I don't think you're ready for JV just yet. We're not even looking at varsity. You have to be dominant as a freshman to be even looked at as moving. Yeah, coach, okay, all right. So he was confident, and I love that, the fact that he was confident, but he wasn't aware, right? So he goes through the season, parents contact me, we ready to get him back in. He comes in today, he gets in with my other trainer, and I asked him, so how did the season go? And I'm like, well, when you started sentence off with I already know it's not good. Yeah. And he had a hard, difficult season, and he stayed on freshman. Once he got to see the level of talent that was not just on his team, but what he played against, what was on JV, what was on varsity, that's when he realized, I'm a little fish in a big pond. Absolutely. Right? And I got to get there. So he struggled. Now he got a taste of it. Now this summer is about, well, we gonna see where you at. Right. You got to take care of those things. I always try to have my kids do what I call exit interview, where at the end of the season, if you need it, I have a sheet that you can print out and take to your coaches, or you ask your coaches, what do I need to work on this year to get better, right? And then they should tell you. And then, but I mean, obviously you should know, you should self-assess yourself, but it's always good to hear from someone else. Absolutely. So we'll see where he is, how much of a jump he makes.
And I love that. I mean, and I appreciate you sharing that with the audience. And so, like, my thing is like, when you fail and you start, that's when the growth comes. Yeah. Within the struggle, I should say. And I've advised so many parents the last more so now than before, is like, stop throwing safety nets out to save little Johnny or Perla or whomever.
Always picking on little Johnny, because I use the name to all the Johnnies out there. We just throwing the name out there, man.
I got it from you. So I thought it was standard. I thought we couldn't use another name. I'm not gonna say Lil Keenan.
Maybe you gotta say Lil Keenan sometimes. So Lil Johnny's like, look, man, these dudes say my name one more time, and I'm driving up to Time to Ball podcast. Don't do that. All right, but no, just go ahead and keep going.
No, but just like honestly, like parents, let them fail.
Yeah.
Right? Let them fail. They'll have a clear understanding. And then when they do fail, this is when you advise.
Right.
You know, or consult.
Right.
You know, don't cater to it. It's a fine line.
Yeah.
And I've advised some of the players that are in our program. I said, you know, you are like a reactor. Your facial expressions, kids know exactly, athletes, players, they know regardless of how old, regardless of age, they know exactly which face to make to get the right reaction that they want their parents to make.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so,
that's true.
You know, and so that's something that's really, really important. Let them fail.
And I think you guys, as coaches, whether it's high school, AAU, city, middle school, college, you know, and pros, you guys are in a more difficult spot because when you are trying to help them by letting them fail, it comes across as if you guys don't like them.
Absolutely.
You know, you don't want them.
Sure.
And then they turn around and they say, well, I'm going to go to another team because they feel like that. On my side, I'm showing them their weaknesses. They're paying me to show them where they're weak at, right? So it's different. And if more parents could take that approach and that understanding that they have with us, with you guys, I think we wouldn't have kids moving from team to team all the time and upset because they got sat because, you know, they can't defend or they taking bad shots, right? You know, and that's the greatest thing about what I do here is other people, what is the saying I just brought up? Some people see weaknesses as non-strengths. I'm messing it up, and it's my own saying. I see weaknesses as an opportunity. I'll put it that like that.
Absolutely.
I see weaknesses as an opportunity to help you get better.
It's a blessing to know your weaknesses.
Yes.
Don't hide from it.
Yeah, because
you'll never overcome it. Yeah. And that's in any aspect in life, period.
And not just that. Your competition gonna expose your weakness.
For sure.
Maybe when you're in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, but once you start ascending to elite competition, they will help you understand, like, why is he just standing on my right side and smiling at me?
Right.
Like, okay, I'm gonna give him the 2 dribbles and cross back to the right. Damn, that ain't working.
And some parents will tell you out there too. He can't go left. She can't dribble. You know, like, so, you know, and I'm gonna jump in this. I'm gonna just kind of switch gears on, just segue, as you would say. It's important to know your weaknesses because once your talent lets you down, that's the worst feeling ever.
Yeah.
Because at that point, you can do nothing about it.
You
can do nothing about it.
And nobody can help you.
No one can help you.
It's probably the scariest feeling in the world is getting the ball, knowing that you're not really good at dribbling, and somebody picks you up 94 feet, and they know how to defend. That is one of the scariest feelings in the world if you ain't. So I have to try to help kids, you know, understand that, embrace it, and use the deficiencies to you know, work on those deficiencies rather to bring them up to strengths.
Yeah, and speaking of that as well, like we've been really, especially the last maybe 2.5 years, we've really advised our kids, look, there's messages sent, and you don't have to send them, you don't have to say a word to send somebody a message.
Right.
If somebody gets on your right side, they're telling you everything that you need to know.
Right.
So you have to respond. Even something as simple like I'm on the free throw line and I give you a shoulder bump, like, and you just look like, okay, I'm sorry, and say that, like subconsciously you're lowering your mindset, your motor, you're lowering everything that's going on with you. So you have to send a message back.
Right.
That's really, really important.
Right.
Mind games are being played throughout every game of basketball, whether it's pickup, whether it's travel ball, AAU, church league, one-on-one with dad, one-on-one with cousins. You have to understand the messages and respond.
You said church league, and it's funny because I've seen some of the most violent games.
Oh, for sure.
And worse talking with full of expletives at church league games.
Oh, boy.
And sometimes it's the damn congregation doing all the talking, like, damn, Deacon Jones.
And they pray right after. which is
we gonna pray.
All right.
We gonna pray after the game, and it's like, man, I ain't sitting down there praying with you. You try to take my hand off in this game. Oh Lord. All right, I gotta touch on this. This has been bugging me. And look, I know there's gonna be a whole, but this might be the last podcast. I might get taken off the airwaves from the FCC. But I need to know what's going on with these media sessions with kids. I think they're getting out of hand, man. I mean, I do like them, right? You see the media days with the NBA, and then you would see it with college, right?
Of course.
Then you would start to see it in high school, preseason. They got some of the top players and stuff. And then some of those schools would start doing media sessions and stuff like that. I'm all for that. Then you start seeing it with the travel teams. Okay, I can get that high level. And then it's the city league teams. But now it's like second and third grade media sessions. Pretty soon you're going to have a media session for the 6-month-old. Little Timmy is 6 months old, and he's a fierce player in the crib. Oh man, I'm like, come on, man. Look, and I know some of the people who do it. Y'all do a great job. I'm not disputing that. It looks great, but damn, when we gonna stop? And okay, somebody told me that the media sessions are just another level of everybody gets a trophy. That's kind of how they broke it down, and I was like, I wasn't really feeling that, but I understood what they were saying. But then it was like, it went from high school, freshmen, AAU, top level teams, to 7th grade teams, to 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade. And I was like, damn, are they gonna go have a media session for toddlers now?
Man, it is a derivative of social media. I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, now, the organizations that I deal with, like, we don't do that, because, it's like I've gone live one time,
right,
with players, and it was more of an introduction.
Right.
I had a college coach who, contacted me. Coach, who he had, man, I follow you online, so I said, okay, well, I'll just put it online, and they can. We had a couple conversations about who they were, what high school they went to, so on and so forth. But, to me, it's, and I've advised all of our athletes, whoever's telling you how great you are, get away from it. Because it's the hype train. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Like, there are a lot of coaches, players, who the mindset is, parents as well, I'm gonna hype you up and you're gonna play well. Not when talent meets talent.
Right.
So to me that drop is so far, you may not be able to reach them.
Yeah.
So just, players nowadays, you want a coach to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Male, female, whatever circuit you're on, make sure your coach is being honest.
Yeah.
Make sure your travel coach, AAU coach, exposure travel, has a plan for you. Make sure they know your skill set. Make sure they can allow them to be honest about where you're at.
Yeah.
Those things are important.
Yeah.
And there was I won't even go into the gender, but there was an athlete here. College coach asked me to go scout. So I said, okay. Went to go scout, A number one team came in town, didn't play. I'm like, okay, that's odd. Okay. Number one team played that game, obviously, skull drugged him.
Right.
Next day, he was playing. I thought it was odd. So I said, okay, maybe that was, anything.
Right.
Migraines, it happens. So fast forward to this year, a number 1 team from another state comes in town, doesn't play.
Same thing.
So, and then, so I went to, probably a week later, I went to a high school game. So they were like, let's go D1, let's go D1. I'm trying to figure out, man, I thought maybe it was a Derek, I didn't know what was going on. But this particular athlete, they didn't even call her name, they called her D1. So, to me, I'm just like, we have to stop doing that to kids.
Right.
And make sure the people that are telling you that you're Division I, because it sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm D1. Make sure the people they're qualified and their reputation is valid enough to say that you're Division I.
Right.
Like just throwing that out there is so disrespectful to Division I. It is so difficult. It is hard in practice.
Right.
It's hard getting in practice.
Right.
Forget a game.
Right.
And so for someone to just say, yeah, so and so said I'm D1, or my dad thinks I'm D1, like it is such a downfall. So media guy comes up to me, yeah, Division I can see it. So I said, well, what makes you say that? And this is a smaller guard.
Right.
When you're a smaller guard, you have to have, you know.
Yeah.
You got to have the burst. You got to be very special.
Yeah.
Very special. Like nationally special.
Right.
And so, his mind was, oh man, she's doing well here. I'm like, does it translate to college?
Yeah.
So lo and behold, now everybody's like, what happened to the D1? So the kid didn't go D1, went D2, which is great.
Yeah, it's great.
D2, they play at a high level. A lot of Division I kids playing D2. So now the Division I coaches are hating on kids from El Paso. And it's just like, come on, man. It's just, I know that does happen.
Yeah,
it does happen.
It does.
Okay? And kids can't fault who they're playing, who's on their schedule, or who's in their district.
No.
However, when you go out of town and perform, you cannot be playing in the Cotton Gin bracket when everybody else is playing in the WNBA bracket or the NBA bracket. Right? So, and if you are playing in the Cotton Gin bracket, you need to have 50.
Right.
That's just what it is.
Right.
Are you seeing that more and more often here, or what's been your?
It's been constant, and I think it's just that it's when you don't see a lot of Division I athletes. When unfortunately we don't have a lot of those. You have one every now and then. We had we had Jaden on the boys' side, Jaden, and he's 6'11". Then you had KJ a couple of years ago, right? So you get to see some. But the thing is when you see those kids playing against your kids, it's easy to understand why your kid isn't a Division I level. So if you played against more D1s on a regular basis, you would see it. Unfortunately, there's nothing here for it. You have to go play elsewhere, or they have to come here, and when they do and you're on the floor with them, you see the disparity, right? And I think I've always said that I'm really glad that more teams are traveling out and playing against, because they get a chance to see it. And a lot of times, like, you're able to prepare them for them, but a lot of parents kids that I train, when they come back, it's the first time, and they have this deer in the headlights
for
look.
sure, I've seen it.
So it's like, you see where it is, right? Like, now you got a taste of it. Now, if you feel like you are going to be there, this is what you have to do. So, well, we're gonna take a quick break, and then we're gonna come back and continue. All right, so we're back. And we're going to go into our basketball ideology. Now, seeing as how travel season is upon us, exposure travel and regular travel, damn, I sound like somebody interviewing on a damn 60 Minutes show.
You sound like you got a traveling service over here, man.
Loud, like, hey, I should say no. We should just cut that. No,
travel agent.
Yeah, loud. But here's where I was going. I wanted to talk about the live period, and I wanted to get your thoughts on kind of educating people a little bit more on the live period.
As far as the live period, or it's called the live period or the viewing period. But now, everybody's kind of gotten to the live period. The live period is when you are at NCAA sanctioned events. You have to log into the NCAA website and have all your information there, and also make sure you're certified. Once you're certified, and this is just to play in the tournament. This is just to be on the roster. The coach has to send you an invite, and so it's people just think you pay money and show up, and that's just not it. I mean, I've seen people be stopped at the door, couldn't play because the folks they weren't. So kids had to come back and jump on laptops and try and get that done, and so there's a lot of administrative work as it pertains to that.
How hard is it to do the certification part to be certified?
It's just basically, as far as coaching, you have to obviously do a background check.
Right. No, but I mean like the players, like when you say they got
players.
Yeah.
So the players really just kind of it's basically just uploading what school you're at.
Right.
Because they want to because there's rules as far as your roster. Like you can only, so far, obviously we're in Texas, I can only recruit players in the states that touch.
Right.
So that's Oklahoma, that's Arkansas, that's Louisiana, and New Mexico. Okay. So I couldn't go get a player from New York.
Right.
I couldn't get a player from Cali. Right. I couldn't even get a player from Mexico.
Right.
And I'm 5 minutes away.
There.
So that's the biggest thing there. As far as it's just really going through the steps. What we do is I already have it written down as far as step 1 is here, step 2 is there. So once you do it can be overwhelming if you don't have those steps.
Right.
It can be. But they just want it in chronological order as far as the classes you've taken and just kind of where you're at. Obviously, you got to have so many credits and things of that nature. And so, that's really what that is. That allows college coaches to come in and get a live look at high school players.
Right. So with the live period, all right, once high school season ends, that's usually when college coaches are going to be watching high school players that they're going to be looking at, right, playing, perform or evaluate. Is that from February to August?
So now they have what's called scholastic events, which I love, right? So your high school coach can take you to these events where a college coach can come and watch.
Right.
And typically that's for your top 100, top 50 kids or what have you, but that's sometimes how you crack that list.
Right.
So I do like that, but you really have to really showcase well. The mindset, and I won't just say El Paso, the mindset of most is I gotta score points.
Right.
I was involved with a player last year, and trainer would fly in, and mom's paying him all this kind of money, and
Damn.
He was well taken care of.
You got to give me that list.
He was well taken care of. Anyway, trainer would fly in, and wanted a synopsis of what we were running, and I'm just like, hey man, like you're a fan, let's go over here and have a seat. Anyway, his mindset was this particular player, his client had to score 20 in order to get to Division I level. And so, we're like, well, you're not going to be able to. Look, all state, all region, first team, all district, like you're just not going to be able to do that. A college coach can watch 2 to 5 minutes and know if you can play. And so the reason why I say, try to encourage them not to worry about the points is because the shots that you're taking, whether you have 20 or 30, you may not be able to get in their league.
Right.
You may not be skilled enough to get in their league.
Right.
Your coach may not have double pin downs for kids coming off. Maybe their things are DHOs and PNRs,
right.
pick and rolls. And so You just have to really be cognizant of what coaches are looking for.
Right.
The first thing, motor. Like everybody, motor and being competitive. And so, I've had, well, coach, I played hard. Yeah, but you weren't competitive.
Right.
So, what's the difference? And I had to say, hey, look, so let's just take rebounds because it's the easiest, or loose balls. I said, if me and you are in a situation where there's a loose ball, I'm competitive, you work hard, you're gonna run as hard as you can to it, right? I'm gonna get the ball every time.
Right.
I'm competitive, you work hard. and for the naked eye, it looks great. It looks amazing. Oh man, she almost got it. She almost got it. To a coach sitting on the baseline watching, who is that? Like I've seen him or her get. I'm not gonna say Lil Johnny. I've seen him or her get every loose ball.
Right.
What's
Yeah. I
boom.
gotta get, yeah.
Yeah. They're running the floor. They're talking. I've literally seen kids to get Division I offers by just talking.
Right.
Never made a bucket, and not just, and there's levels of talking.
Right.
There's saying good job and cheering, and then there's directing.
Right.
Backside, hey, screen's coming. I mean, all those things matter.
Right.
And and when you're speaking the same language, double pin down, like what does that mean? DHO, dribble handoffs, like all those, that terminology. If you're speaking the same language, like that's something that they don't have to teach you when you get on campus.
Exactly.
And so, that's just like really two or three of the things that will really, really get you on someone's board.
Right.
And who are you doing that against?
Right. Yeah.
That's important.
That's usually really, really important.
Right.
What are the dates, the time frames that you typically are in the live period? Because it's not from February to August.
No.
So you might have what? Obviously, it's going to start this month because the tournament is ending, right? So is it the rest of the month of April, or is there like a weekend or two in this month?
Yeah, they've really cut it down. And so they've cut it down because of the portal.
Right.
But basically they're saying, look, these directors of these events were upset because coaches weren't coming.
Right.
Like, man, look, I'm in the portal. Like, I'm
not
doing it.
Right.
Excuse me. So, it's one event in April, one weekend in April, one weekend in May, and two in July.
Okay. Now, the reason I ask that is because, if you're on a team and they're telling you they're going to be playing in a live event and they're playing, you're traveling in the month of June, then, you typically aren't playing in a live event, right?
I mean, there was a point in time where I was hearing that so much, I had to call you and be like, look, man, and this is information that you can look up. It's free.
It's free information. It's crazy. It's crazy because I'm not gonna pick on somebody, but I've actually had to. People have asked me something, and I've told them what it was, and they would be like, "Oh, okay. Well, can you let me know with it?" And it's like, yeah, like you could just look it up, right? Just look it up, and then it's weird. It is weird. It is weird with people not looking things up and really trying to understand and comprehend.
Right, and just being forthcoming. There are live events for D2 schools only, D2s, JUCOs. I think they have an extra 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And so you just have to really be abreast of, number one, who your kid is. I had a conversation with a young lady last year. In her mind, she was someone else. And I'm like, you don't know who you are. Oh, I'm so-and-so. Like, no, like you have to know your game.
Right.
The things you're trying to do are what you do at home.
Right.
Look around. So I'm always making sure they're cognizant of, like, look, don't have a local mindset. Be a player, or we can say, Keenan, man, I'm gonna send you to West Virginia. Don't matter. I'm gonna send you to Ohio, Cali. different styles of basketballs. It just doesn't matter.
Right.
And so, those are really the things that you have to be aware of.
Yeah.
And our schedule varies, but typically, what I tell athletes and parents is like, look, we're going where coaches are going to be there.
Right.
One thing I can guarantee is that you're going to play in front of college coaches.
Yeah, there are going to be people seeing you.
What you do from there,
it's
on you.
Yep.
So, and I tell our parents, like I just said this yesterday, I believe. I've never had a complaint from a parent whose kid is not playing well.
Yeah.
When the kid's playing well, I don't get any complaints. Once the struggles come and those things, they have to adapt a little bit, parents are upset. And so I just base it on performance.
Right, right. Okay. All right, so look, let me get to my other thing with basketball ideology. I'm going to talk about ball height. So what do I mean when I say ball height? I'll see, people dribbling the ball, and there's sometimes if you watch, social media, you'll have people and they're doing these moves, and the ball height is off. So they're making this move, and they're having to put their hand under it. So what do I mean by ball height? When I'm doing a training, when they first start, I have them do stationary dribbling. So there's high, I have them shoulder up above, medium about waist, low is around the knees, okay? So there are some players that will only dribble low at the knees, whether they're being guarded or whether they're just dribbling the ball up the court with no pressure or defense. There are some players that always dribbling high. No matter if they're by themselves or if somebody's guarding them. So sometimes I have to explain to players that there are different levels of ball height that you dribble with. And I had a particular player that the player struggled. He told me he would struggle in games because he was really quick and he would make his moves and he would lose the ball. So as we were doing drills, and I'm watching him as he's doing them, and I was like, oh, okay, it's his ball height. He's trying to dribble too low, too fast, and he's not giving himself enough time for the ball to hit his hand to make whatever shift or move he needs to. So I told him, I said, look, there are times where you're gonna get low. If you have a big guy on you and you're trying to keep him off, you're not dribbling like this, you're dribbling low, right? But if nobody's on you, you need to be dribbling at a normal height, and you need to be bouncing the ball to where it comes up with force, not to where you bounce it and then you're having to put your hand of it. So by increasing his ball height I would say it was 3 inches from where he was dribbling to where he started to dribble, he said he was able to make moves and quickness and stuff and have more control and not have any more turnovers. And he didn't understand, well, everybody always says to dribble low. And I said, yeah, you do that, but it depends on the situation, right? So I've seen kids where they were getting travel calls in games. They're dribbling and they're calling travel, and then after the game they're talking, and I actually had to tell a parent, I said, the reason why they're getting a call for a travel, a carrying, is because of the ball height. They're bouncing it and they're catching it too low. So you bounce it low, and then you want to bring the ball up to medium, you got to bring it up. You need to bounce the ball and let the ball come up to medium. Now you can shift and make that move. So for those of you out there who've had issues with lots of carries, those type of things, you need to
charge for this, man. Come on, man. Hey, legitimate. Those are details that people rarely speak on. This is free game, as they say. Free game.
I'm doing pro bono work. Pro bono work this week. No, but the ball height is very important. And that's awesome. What I have noticed is in today's players, a lot of them are dribbling. Even in the NBA, they'll dribble low, and then they'll put their hand on it and they'll bring it up and then they'll shift and move and they're not calling it.
I'm not gonna mention
right?
names.
And then you see it's filtering down in college where they don't always call it unless you see a coach that's really upset saying he's carrying the ball. High school, they're starting to not call it because it's kind of a normal thing, but it's only normal because they don't understand. And you can get any move. I can teach you any shifty move with proper ball height. So make sure that you're working on your ball height, you know.
Since you're giving this stuff out for free, I got a question. Would it benefit me to pound the ball harder?
Yes, obviously. Yeah, and the strength of the pound usually dictates the ball height, right? And the control, like when people say control, you got to control the ball. You want to bounce it and hit the same spot every time. That's control. That's one component of control. But the other component that might be even more important is when you pound it and that ball hits your hand strong, keeping the ball where you want it to, right? Because if you go really hard and you don't have the control and muscle strength, that ball is going to take your arm up, right?
Absolutely.
So you got to be able to have those that up there. So you want to pound. You don't want to dribble, soft, because that never works. That stuff gets stolen all the time.
For sure.
So look. We had our first slight argument. It was at like the 5-minute marker. You can kind of rewind it. It didn't get heated. It wasn't no furniture moving or anything in here, but we had a little bit of disagreement, and I'm hoping for more. All right, it ain't gonna be no fisticuffs or nothing like that, but maybe it's gonna be where we're like, nah, man, you full of shit. You can't, and then you like, I ain't coming on this show no more, and I'll be like, dog, it ain't that serious, man. We can argue and all of that stuff. So, but I appreciate.
Some controversy.
I mean, I don't want it to be to where we're just kumbaya. Cause look, off camera, we be talking a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit that we be talking. So he's getting more comfortable in this phase, and as he gets more comfortable, it's gonna be a little bit more. There were no bad expletives today. It was other than shit and ass, but I didn't use any other words, so I'm happy about that. Cause now, kids can watch. I want the kids, Keenan love the kids. I want the kids to be watching and stuff. So
absolutely.
Look,
I'm trying to keep my job.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Last week I was on an 11-day contract. Okay? I got 3 days left. So,
we're not gonna do it like they do in the NBA. Bring them up for that 10-day, keep them 10 days, and then send them back, and then bring them back later after 3 days for another 10 days, just so we can save that money on that roster spot, man. That's cold. But look, we're gonna end with this. Look, like what we're saying, if you got questions, you got comments, even look, long as you ain't sending us no bull, with your comments and talking a lot really bad stuff. I don't mind if somebody says, man, I don't agree with that and stuff, and you let us know how you feel and we'll respond. And if we can, maybe we'll put you on and we can argue, or not argue, we can discuss it. Right, we can discuss it.
Absolutely.
I'm okay with that. But, like, subscribe, follow, and let us know what you're thinking. It's weird because I'm talking to another person. Sometimes I felt like Tom Hanks on that move with the ocean with the volleyball, Wilson.
Yeah.
But now I was like, man, I don't even know how to act having somebody else on the show. So
I'll be Wilson, man.
So I'm appreciating it. So look, we're gonna end how we always end. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Absolutely.
We out.
Peace.
Street cred sports, say it with your chest. Yeah. Go get it from the net.